Saving America one entrepreneur at a time. It's the Biz Wrap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs. It's Biz Wrap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Wrap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining us this week. Biz Wrap Radio, of course, is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you run your small business or get your entrepreneurial idea off the ground. Each week we feature experts and professionals, people who can help you with ideas for marketing, for sales, for managing your taxes, for raising capital for your business, and even for maneuvering through the myriad of government regulations that you as a small business person have to jump through every single day of the week just to stay alive. We're here fighting for you, hoping that we can help you make your business more successful. Each week we try and feature a guest, at least one guest who's got some interesting thoughts and ideas about some aspect of running a business. And of course, the focus is always on small businesses. And this week, I am very lucky to have on the line with me a person. I'm not going to call her an expert or a guru because she has a video on her website that kind of poo-poos the whole idea of expert or guru. But she's certainly somebody who knows a lot more about this subject than I do. I've got Christina Forrester on the line. She is not an expert, not a guru, but she's a person who knows a heck of a lot about social media marketing. Christina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, this is a subject that for a lot of small business people we struggle with. The whole concept of social media, particularly for some of us older entrepreneurs and business people. We didn't grow up in the age of the Facebooks and the Twitters. And we're a little confused by it. We aren't sure exactly how we should be using it. We're not sure how important it really is. And we are at the mercy of, I don't know about other business people, but I'm a small business person. I probably get 50 emails a week from people who say, hey, I can manage your social media, I can manage your SEO on your website, I can get you higher rankings on Google. I mean, you're being attacked by people who are trying to probably, if no better word for it than to say is just suck money out of you. So, Christina, what can you tell us about social media? What should we be doing, and how can we better understand this whole subject?
Well, that was funny that you mentioned our video from a couple years ago, our We're Not Experts campaign, which we did that because of what you just said. There are so many people out there calling themselves experts, and honestly, this might sound bad, I don't know. I didn't want to be put into the same category with what I was seeing displayed as expert in the field, and so we decided, we're consultants. And but everyone's a guru, everyone's an expert, so you do have to be careful of the grandiose claims that, we can make you viral in 1 week, with this amount down and you're going to be viral, and those kinds of claims. So one of the first things is, just getting some basic knowledge about it and how things work, and what the realistic expectations are of a social media campaign, and they can be very high. However, to get high results, there is always a high output with ads, and that has increased through the years in Facebook, Twitter. Pretty much every platform is finding new ways to charge for advertising. So the budget increases as that continues to happen. It's increased every year because of that. So just watch out for those unrealistic claims, I guess.
Okay, so Christina, I'm a small business person. Well, let's just take one of my own small businesses. BizRap Radio is a small business. I'm a radio host, yes, but my BizRap Radio, it's designed for a purpose. It's not only to help entrepreneurs and small business people, but at the same time, I do business consulting, and I've actually consulted with a number of our listeners. What do you think I should have in terms of social media? I mean, obviously there's Facebook, there's Twitter. Should I have everything that's out there? Should I focus on one or the other? What should my social media strategy include?
Well, it's going to be different for every industry, and we've worked with, anything from funeral homes to pain clinics to health and wellness, everything in between, authors, speakers. So it's going to be different for every industry. And for a radio show, we actually worked with a magazine for a while, and it's kind of the same type of thing. You really have to be on every platform for what you're doing. So I would suggest one of the things adding in, if you've already got good traction on Facebook and on Twitter, I would suggest adding in Instagram and really focusing on pictures of guests and things like that, pictures of pertaining to the topic. So maybe you would do a picture of a guy with, pulling his hair out over social media today and Instagram that out on Twitter and use some hashtags and things like that. So, with a radio show, just like a magazine or a news station or TV show, anything like that, the demand is pretty high. It's higher than a lot of other industries as far as how much action you need.
So a small business person, you should probably at least be looking, I guess, at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That should kind of be the target, or that's probably a reasonable goal for most small businesses. Because, one of the other issues small businesses have is hey, if I'm a company that's doing $100 million a year, I can hire somebody for, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to sit in the corner and do nothing all day but put posts on my Facebook and my Twitter and my Instagram account. A lot of small businesses, our resources are scarce, and they're becoming even more scarce now here in this, in Los Angeles. I'm in Long Beach, California. We're broadcasting from beautiful downtown Long Beach, California. But, here in the city of Los Angeles, the mayor has announced that he's going to pump up the minimum wage. There's the majority of businesses in the city of Los Angeles are small businesses. They're going to have to be paying increased wages to all of their employees. How much resources should they be allocating to this Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram in order to stay competitive?
Well, I would say first, like I said, depending on the industry, they might not even need Instagram, depending on what their industry is. I would suggest, for some industries, LinkedIn is going to be a really big help, and even Pinterest. If you're an artist or a, photographer, Pinterest would be, probably one of your most important. So I would definitely say, though, that it's not something that can be ignored, but it's not something that has to be terribly expensive. You don't have to budget out $3,000-$4,000 a month for a good campaign. You can get a good campaign for a decent marketing budget, and actually less than you would spend in print. I did quite a bit in print marketing before I got into social media, and then that quickly was dying about the time I got into it. So it was right out of college, and so I realized that this isn't the best medium to get into because the print advertising market was dying. And so, but the cost for what we would charge small businesses for an ad in the paper or an ad in our magazine was at least 4 times higher than what a cost should be on a good, decent social media campaign monthly.
Okay, Christine, Christine, I've got to interrupt you there. We're coming to the end of this segment. And sorry to rush you, but we got a break for commercials, and we will be right back with BizRap Radio. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and I have on the line with me talking about social media. It's Christina Forrester. Her company is KISS Social Media Marketing. And Christina, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, and maybe I understand you have something where you kind of do a short consulting session with them free of charge, how could they get a hold of you and maybe talk to you about what they're trying to accomplish in social media?
Sure. They can. They can do a variety of things. They can email me at cforrester. That's CFORRESTER at kisssocialmediamarketing.com, or they can tweet us at Kiss Social Media, or they can Facebook us. Same thing, facebook.com/kisssocialmedia. Or maybe the easiest thing is just to go straight to kisssocialmediamarketing.com and fill out our free evaluation form that we have right on our website, and we'll get back to you and set a time, do a free 10-minute evaluation and consultation, and see what we can do to help you and what questions we can answer for you.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So you can get a free consultation with Christina, who is who knows a lot about social media marketing. We're not going to call her a guru or an expert, but she knows a lot about social media marketing. Certainly a lot more than you and I know. And her website is kisssocialmediamarketing.com. Go there. You can fill out a form and get a free evaluation for your business. Christina, now I want to talk a little bit about content. We mentioned in the last segment that a small business could easily do a modest social media campaign that would probably cost, I think you said maybe $500 to $1,000 a month.
Sure.
Well. Okay, so one thing is the cost, but the second thing is content. What should a business be putting up or posting on their social media sites? What is going to attract the attention of potential customers? How does that work?
Well, you have to have a well-rounded example of your whole brand. So, we definitely focus on making sure that every aspect of what you do is posted about regularly, but you don't want it to get boring. You don't want to only post links, to your website every day for the next week or 2 weeks, and people get bored with that pretty quickly. So, anything you can do that's fun, anything that you can do that's informative, any type of pictures that you can post. Pictures always get the highest amount of likes and shares. No matter what medium it is, they're going to get the most. Quotes are also a really important thing, if you can do quotes that have to do with your industry. So those are some things. If you have YouTube videos, obviously sharing your videos are a great thing too. So making sure that the content is diverse so that it's interesting. And then on top of that, contests and trivia and things that will get engagement rolling.
So what I'm kind of hearing from this, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a lot of small businesses out there who relegate social media to let the receptionist do it, or let Sally, the filing clerk, take care of it. But really, an entrepreneur or a small businessman needs to at least dedicate some of his or her time to actively participate in this social media arena. You can't just pay the lowest, get the lowest paid person in your company to work on it. You really need to pay some personal attention to the content that you're posting on social media.
Well, yeah, I always tell people, would you put a billboard up that, you just spray painted a big billboard and put it on the side of the freeway about your business, and you just spray paint it and, just get the cheapest possible, or they just, don't put any care into making sure it has your logo and your brand correctly. And because that's what social media is, only it's a bigger billboard. It really is a billboard for your whole business, but it's bigger than just one sign on the side of the freeway. It's everywhere. So it really is the brand representation for you, for your business.
And it's also a way, I understand, that you can you can add a little bit of personality to your business as well. Maybe a little more of a human touch than you get from a billboard. Because if you can put up pictures of staff members, pictures of customers, quotes from customers, if you're holding an event at your store, a Saturday celebration, and a lot of small businesses, they'll have a customer appreciation day and they serve hot dogs or donuts. If you're doing those types of things anyway, would I be right in saying, Christina, that those are great things to be putting on your social media sites?
Oh, absolutely, definitely. And people love that human type of touch. I mean, for a lot of the doctor's offices that we've worked with, that's usually the biggest response is pictures of patients, pictures of staff. People like to see themselves. They like to see people that they know online and posted about, and that is absolutely number one top thing that we get. I mean, even if it's a great blog, maybe we'll have a great blog one day, and there's a lot of interest in that. But at the end of the day, people want to see pictures of themselves. They want to see pictures of people they know, and that's usually the number one thing that gets liked.
That makes a lot of sense. So if you just joined us, it's BizRap Radio. I'm your host, Michael Manahan. This is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. And today we're talking with Christina Forrester. Christina is talking about social media marketing and how we as small business people and entrepreneurs need to be conscious of social media marketing. We need to understand it, and we need to be including it in our overall advertising and marketing programs. And you can find out more from Christina by going to kisssocialmediamarketing.com. That's kisssocialmediamarketing.com. And Christina will actually do a free evaluation for you. You'd fill out her form on her website, and she'll be in touch with you and give you a few pointers and tips and talk to you about what you're doing free of charge. And you may even decide that you would like to use Christina's services to help you do even better with your social media and social media marketing. Now, Christina, we just got maybe 3 minutes left in our segment here. We've talked about cost a little bit. We've talked about the various websites, social media websites that you should be on. We've talked now a little bit about content. What else should we be thinking about, or should we be cognizant of as small business people when it comes to social media marketing? Any other little tips or ideas you can throw at us before we close out for this segment?
Sure. Well, like I said, I would just, besides, content, focusing on growth, and maybe that's what we talk about next, but that if you don't have growth and you're not showing some numbers and interest, then the content can be great. But if there's people not seeing it, it's not going to do you any good. So definitely focusing on growing that following, and the numbers of likes that you have on your page is just as important.
Okay, so how do I do that? How do I grow my Facebook audience, or how do I grow my Twitter audience? Is there a couple of techniques that I could use to do that?
There are, and there's a science to it. That would probably be like a 5-hour radio show, actually, if we went in depth.
Well, just can you give us like two ideas? Here's two things you can do to grow your audience.
Sure. For Twitter, following some other people in your industry that you would like to follow you back. Find people who you want to follow you, and 50% of the time, people will follow you back when you follow them. So start following some people. And on Facebook, unfortunately, Facebook has made it so that you have to do ads. So you really need to look at Facebook ads if you're serious about growing your page. Pretty much have to do Facebook ads. The only other way to grow the page, and you can get a few numbers, is by, posting on your personal profile, inviting friends, asking them to like your page, offering to like their page in return. So that's a lot more work, and it's not going to yield near as many results as just throwing up an ad.
Okay, so we've been talking with Christina Forrester of kisssocialmediamarketing.com about how important it is that you make social media marketing a part of your overall marketing an advertising strategy as a small business person. You can do it for reasonable costs, but you do need to do it. You need to be out there on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and perhaps a few other sites. You need to be posting informative content, interesting content, and you need to be doing it on a regular basis. You can contact Christina at kisssocialmediamarketing.com. She'll do a free evaluation for you. And this is BizRap Radio, your host, Michael Manahan. We're going to go to commercials, and we'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you just tuned in, we've just finished a great segment talking about social media and some social media strategies you should be using in your business. Something that is dear to my heart is, of course, regulation. Not that regulations are dear to my heart, but overregulation is a subject of which I am very, very fond. Now, as every business owner knows, particularly you small businesses, and I'm one of those, I own a couple of small businesses, you know that you're required to get a business license. So whatever city that you're in, most of those cities will make you get some sort of a business license. If you're operating in the state of Nevada, as an example, you might have to get a local business license, one from the local city or municipality in which you operate, and you might have to get one also from the state of Nevada. So you may have to have two business licenses. But, I've always wondered about business licenses. What is the purpose of a business license? Does it really serve any purpose? Have you ever applied for a business license? It seems to me that in most cases, other than maybe for if you're serving alcohol, a business license is pretty much just a rubber stamp from the local city and an excuse for the city to collect a bunch of money off of you. Well, it's not just businesses that need licenses. There is now a growing trend for cities to impose upon certain occupations, and I'm not even going to call them professions, because when I say professions, I'm thinking of a doctor, I'm thinking of an attorney, I'm thinking of a CPA. These people have professional associations, and they need to be, if you will, licensed by those professional organizations in order to operate. So, an attorney has to be admitted to the bar. A CPA has to have a CPA license. But now it's becoming extremely common that cities are causing what most of us would think of as just kind of regular workers have to have licenses. And I'll give you a few examples of just some of the occupations that now require a license. An auctioneer. So if you want to auction off some products for sale, got to have a license. A makeup artist. Yes, if you want to put makeup on somebody else, you must now have a license in many cities around the country and in many states. Interior designers now have to have a license. Barbers. Remember back, years ago, your neighbor had a pair of shears, and you went over to the neighbor's house and you sat in the chair, and the neighbor cut your hair. But now you actually have to have a license in many cities in the United States to be a barber, just to cut somebody's hair. And many of these licenses require extensive training. I've seen articles on the internet that you might need as much as 1,200 hours of training to be an interior designer. So in other words, somebody to come into my house and say, well, Mike, I think you need a green couch and brown carpets and we'll paint the walls yellow. And that person's got to have 1,200 hours of training and a license. It's just absolutely incredible. Now, think about this. In Florida, Orange County, Florida, the state government did a raid and arrested 35 people for basically practicing the trade of being a barber without a license. And these 35 people faced criminal charges, by the way. This isn't some little misdemeanor like getting a parking ticket. This is criminal charges for not having a barber's license. So in other words, for these people to cut somebody's hair, they have to have a license, which may require up to 1,200 hours of training. It's estimated that now 3 out of every 20 let me restate that. It's 1 in every 3 workers in the United States now need some form of license to operate. Back in the 50s, that was only about 1 out of every 20 workers. So all of a sudden, not only do businesses have to have a business license. So if you opened up a barber shop, you need a business license to operate the business, but now you also need a barber's license in order to operate that business. And you have to think, is this really about protecting people? I mean, I don't know, but I haven't seen many deaths by barber happening recently in this country. I mean, really, what are they protecting us from? Or is this really just a money grab? Is this really just politicians figuring out that they can look like they're doing something productive, but basically what they're doing is they're increasing the cost to you and me, by the way, as consumers, because let's face it, if somebody needs a license, whether it's a business license, whether it's an occupational license, and they need training that goes along with that license, 1,200 hours of training, who do you think is going to pay that? Where are they going to get that money from? They're going to recoup it from you and me, the customers who foot the bill. So as a consequence, we'll pay more for our interior designers. We'll pay more for makeup artists. We'll pay more for barbers. And the list goes on. And this just is another example of the government creating onerous regulations that make it much more difficult for small business people to operate. Federal regulators between January the 1st and the end of September in 2013 issued almost 3,000 new rules and regulations that small businesses have to comply with. I mean, how can you even keep up? How can you manage it? And by the way, ignorance is no defense on these things. If you don't know the rules, guess what? When they come knocking and you're not in compliance, you're in big trouble. And many of these rules are also written in a way that even if you're not hurting anybody, you can still be fined significant penalties, and you may even be open to blackmail from these attorneys' firms that go around, look up these statutes with these obscure rules and regulations in them, and then what they do is they come around, they find businesses that are not in compliance, and they basically extort money from the business and say, hey, look, if you don't pay us a fee, we're going to sue your business and report you and all manner of other things. And again, in many cases, you don't have to have done any damage to anybody. Simply not being in compliance is enough for you to get a big penalty. And we talked about that a few weeks back with the I-9 forms that you have to fill out as an employer when you hire somebody. Presumably, the whole concept of the I-9 form is to make sure that the people you hire are eligible to work here in the United States. And I guess it's the government's attempt to make all of the businesses out here into police officers. So we're doing the job of the government because they can't seem to control the borders and keep the people out. But even if you don't hire illegal immigrants, even if everybody you hire is perfectly eligible to work here in the United States, if God forbid you complete the I-9 form incorrectly, you can be fined, and you will be fined by the federal government for not completing the forms properly. So you don't even have to do any damage or harm to anybody. You don't even have to break the law, if you will. All you have to do is just not comply with, in some cases, nothing more than the paperwork. I-9 form is not an easy form to fill out. An employee can provide you with as many as 30 different pieces of documentation to prove that that person is eligible to work in this country. And you as a small business person, of course, you're supposed to know all about all of those different pieces of documentation, what's legitimate, what isn't. And if you do it wrong, guess what? You're in big trouble when Uncle Sam comes calling on you. It's just got to the stage where it's absolutely ridiculous. The government wants to know How do we get the economy moving? Get off our backs. That's what you need to do. Get off the backs of small business, and we will produce jobs and prosperity for everybody. Well, we're going to have to go for a commercial break. You're here on Biz Rap Radio with your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks for listening. We'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. And, of course, Biz Rap Radio is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you as an entrepreneur or a small business person to run your business more effectively, to give you information that can help you make more profits, make you more competitive in the marketplace, and, of course, help you maneuver through all of the complex government rules and regulations you have to maneuver through as a small business person. And, of course, they just keep piling up. They keep piling them on. I mentioned in the last segment how it's now 1 out of every 3 workers requires some form of license to perform what they perform, whether it be an auctioneer, an interior designer, a barber, a makeup artist, a massage therapist, and on and on and on. Now there's so many licenses being issued by the government, you can barely, the next thing they're going to be forcing you to get a gardener's license in order to cut the grass. But I want to end this show talking about franchises, because franchises in this country are at big risk. But for those of you who may be listening who don't really understand the franchise concept, what you may not know is many so-called big corporations operate on the franchise model. Many of the fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's and Subway sandwiches are perfect examples. Auto repair shops, UPS, and the list goes on and on. There are many, many small businesses, barbershops, Fantastic Sam's. These businesses operate on the franchise model, and that means there's kind of a division of duties. The local business is owned by somebody who's in your community. That person may own one or may own a few franchises. They handle the day-to-day operations of the business. They take care of the customers. They make sure the store is operating properly. They hire the local employees to work in that particular location. And, of course, they're independent business people, so they make a profit, they make money. They don't make a profit, they lose money. And they pay to the franchise organization, whether that be, again, Burger King or McDonald's, a percentage of their revenue. And what the franchisee does is the franchisee primarily does 2 things. First of all, the franchisee handles the overall advertising and marketing for the franchise for the company as a whole. So McDonald's corporate handles all of the marketing. The second thing that the franchisee does is the franchisee works on the product offering. What is it that the store is going to offer? What kind of sandwiches is McDonald's or Burger King going to serve? What kind of drinks are they going to serve? What new products are they going to introduce so that you can continue to gain market share? And finally, another thing that they do is they come up with very sophisticated business practices to show you as a franchise owner how to run your business more effectively, whether it be time studies, whether it be access to being able to purchase supplies at favorable cost, whether it be just training manuals on how to train your staff. The amount of good stuff that a good franchisee provides to the franchisor is just tremendous. And for somebody who has not run a lot of businesses, or maybe is new to running a business, hooking yourself up with a franchise organization can be a great way to increase the success of your business. But now we may be at risk with the franchise kind of concept in this country. There are, by the way, about 3,000 franchisees in this country. That means companies that franchise their concept out I've heard there's estimates of as many as 100,000 small businesses operating as franchises. I really don't have those numbers, and it may be even more than that. But the government has always viewed the franchisee and the franchisor as being separate businesses. And of course, this has some of the unions rather upset, because the unions would like to unionize the fast food industry and other small industries like fast food. But fast food happens to be one of the largest of the franchise industries. But of course, if they're going to unionize the fast food industry, they've got to deal with each individual franchise owner. So that means they got to go store by store and get each store, in effect, to sign some kind of a bargaining agreement or what have you. In the auto industry, it's not very difficult. You got three major auto manufacturers in the United States, Chrysler, Ford, and GM. So you don't have to do a lot of work in order to have most of the people working in the automotive industry under the union organization. But if you're trying to unionize all of the fast food businesses that are out there, you'd have to go store to store. The Burger King, the McDonald's, the Subway sandwich shop, the Taco Bell. For a unionizing perspective, it would be a nightmare. So what is the union strategy? Well, the union strategy is to lobby our federal government and to try and convince the federal government that an organization operating like McDonald's, just to use them as an example, that McDonald's, the corporation, and every one of the tens of thousands of franchisees or franchisors that operate at McDonald's should all be considered one big corporation for the purposes of collective bargaining. That is what the union lobby is doing right now in Washington. It's trying to convince the government that it should consider each major corporation and all of the franchises underneath that corporation, which now are all independent businesses. It should look at them as one singular business and allow the union to negotiate one union contract that applies to every single independent, privately owned franchise that operates with that particular brand. By the way, I just gave a statistic of about 100,000 franchise businesses in the United States. In fact, that is not correct. There's almost 800,000 small businesses operating under the franchise model. So can you imagine the havoc that this would play if the government decides, hey, you know what? That's what we're going to do. If you're a McDonald's Corporation is going to have one master collective bargaining agreement with the Services Union International or whatever they call themselves, and every single McDonald's, whether they're independently owned or not, must operate under that bargaining agreement. Same for Burger King, same for Taco Bell, same for UPS, same for every single major franchise out there. And if that were to happen, I mean, that would be such a huge disruption and burden on primarily and almost exclusively on small businesses, because every one of these 800,000 franchisees in the United States, basically everyone is a small business. It's a small businessman. It's your next door neighbor. It's somebody down the street. And now all of a sudden that individual is going to have to be part of a collective bargaining agreement that's negotiated between a union and somebody at corporate at Burger King or Taco Bell or McDonald's, and just the outrageousness of it is absolutely unbelievable. And not to mention the complexity and the compliance that small business will have to go through to make sure they're obeying all of the complex rules and regulations that are contained in a collective bargaining agreement. Collective bargaining agreements are not typically simple things. There's a lot of really complex rules and regulations, and that's why big companies can administer them. In a small company, it becomes extremely difficult, and the first thing you have is, of course, you don't do something to have this type of collective bargaining forced upon them, and particularly if it's being forced upon them by the federal government. That just is not appropriate at all. Anyways, you're listening to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. I really do appreciate you listening to me today. We are coming to the end of our show, so remember, here at Biz Rap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulation and a planned economy. It's Biz Rap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. I am your host, Michael Manahan. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will be back with another edition of Biz Rap Radio next week.